Ask any car enthusiast when the first muscle car was built, and you will hear the same answer almost every time. 1964, Pontiac GTO. The book is closed, except the book is wrong by 15 years. The real first muscle car rolled out of an Oldsmobile dealership in 1949, a midsize body wrapped around an oversized engine, exactly the recipe everyone credits to 1964. It dominated NASCAR before NASCAR had a single paved track. Moonshine runners chose it as their preferred weapon for outrunning federal agents, and it inspired the first rock and roll song ever recorded, a song titled, in case anyone missed the point, after the car itself. This is the story of the Oldsmobile Rocket 88, the muscle car that history forgot, and the engine that started everything. To understand the Rocket 88, you have to understand how badly American engines had stalled. It is 1948. The Second World War ended 3 years earlier. Soldiers came home, married, and started families that would, within a decade, fill the suburbs. America has more disposable income, more highway, more optimism than at any point in its history. And yet, when those families walk into a dealership, the engines they find under the hoods are, with a few exceptions, designs that would have been familiar to their fathers. Most American cars in the late 1940s run Flathead engines, valves mounted in the engine block beside the cylinders, capped by a simple flat head. The design is cheap, durable, and fundamentally limited. The flat head shape restricts how easily air and fuel can flow into the cylinders and how efficiently they can be burned. Compression ratios are low. Horsepower per cubic inch is modest. The Ford Flathead 5.8, covered in our Episode 5, is the king of this world, and even the king is straining against the design's natural ceiling. What every serious engineer in Detroit knows is that the future belongs to a different layout, the overhead valve engine, with valves mounted above the cylinder in a separately cast head. That arrangement allows much better airflow, much higher compression, and dramatically more power potential. The catch is that overhead valve V8S in 1948 exist mostly in exotic and pre-war luxury cars. None of the volume manufacturers have introduced a modern, mass-market overhead valve V8 for post-war America. Inside General Motors, two divisions are working in parallel to change that: Cadillac and Oldsmobile. The Cadillac program, led in part by a young engineer named Ed Cole, yes, the same Ed Cole who would later create the small block Chevy, develops a new overhead valve V8 for the 1949 model year. And down the hall, Oldsmobile's engineering team, under Chief Engineer Jack Wolfram and engine man Gilbert Burrell, develops their own. The engineering is genuinely advanced for its era. Over-square bore and stroke proportions, high compression, hydraulic lifters for quiet operation, a robust 5-main bearing crankshaft. The engine displaces 303 cubic inches and produces around 135 horsepower out of the gate, a figure that, in a market where most family cars made around 100, qualifies as serious. Oldsmobile names it the Rocket. The era loves anything with the word rocket in it, but the engine is only half of the story. The other half is a decision someone inside Oldsmobile made that changed American automotive history forever. Oldsmobile's product planners had a choice to make about where to put their brand new Rocket V8. The obvious place was the big Oldsmobile 98, the flagship, the heavy luxury cruiser, the prestige car of the lineup. The Rocket would propel it with appropriate dignity. Customers expecting smooth, powerful luxury would receive smooth, powerful luxury, a perfectly sensible decision. Then, somebody in the planning rooms suggested putting the engine somewhere else too, into the smaller, lighter Oldsmobile 76 body shell, the body that normally carried the brand's modest inline-six. Stop and consider the implications, because this is the entire recipe of every muscle car that would ever be built. Take a mid-size American body, drop in a much bigger, more powerful engine than the chassis was designed around. Sell it to people who care more about straight-line acceleration than refinement. That is the muscle car formula in one sentence, and Oldsmobile codified it in 1949. The result was christened the Oldsmobile 88, the Rocket 5.8 in the lighter 76 body shell. The internal logic of the name was simple. It sat between the modest 76 six-cylinder and the prestigious 98. But what the public saw was something nobody had quite seen before: a normal-sized Oldsmobile that, when the light turned green, would simply leave everything else on the road behind it. Period road tests recorded acceleration figures that, by 1949 standards, sounded like science fiction. Top speed approaching 100 miles per hour. 0 to 60 acceleration far quicker than any comparable family car of the day. The 88 was not a sports car. It was something stranger and far more democratic, a family sedan that happened to be faster than most cars Americans had ever driven, and buyers responded. The 88 became Oldsmobile's volume seller almost overnight. Showrooms could not keep up with demand. The Rocket V8 became, by a wide margin, the engine every other GM division and every other manufacturer measured themselves against. Then came the racing. The 1949 racing season is the very first official year of NASCAR's premier division, what we now call the Cup Series, then called Strictly Stock. The rules of Strictly Stock are exactly what the name says. The cars must be production automobiles, available to ordinary buyers, raced essentially as they came from the factory. No tube frames, no racing-only engines. Whatever you drove off the dealer's lot, race it. In that very first season, 8 races scattered across short tracks and beach courses, with drivers and teams improvising as they went. Oldsmobile 88s won 6 of the 8 races. The Rocket 58 was simply on a different shelf from the Flathead engines it was competing against. The car was lighter than the big Lincolns and Chryslers that might have matched its power. The combination was unbeatable. In 1950, the second season expanded, and Oldsmobile 88s won 10 of 19 races. Drivers like Ike Turner, eventually known as the Babe Ruth of stock car racing, and Red Byron, NASCAR's first champion, built their early careers behind Rocket 58s. The dirt tracks and beach courses of the early NASCAR years echoed with the unmistakable sound of overhead valve Oldsmobiles fighting for the lead. The car had effectively created the first golden era of stock car racing by being so much faster than the field that an entire sport gravitated toward what it could do. Then came the moonshine runners. Through the late 1940s and 1950s, the American South ran on a parallel automotive culture invisible to most of the country. Bootleggers, drivers who hauled illegal whiskey from backwoods stills to city customers, required cars that could outrun Federal Treasury Department revenue agents on rural roads. The cars had to look ordinary enough to blend in, they had to be reliable, and they had to be faster than anything the government could afford. The Oldsmobile 88 became, by reputation, the moonshiner's car of choice in those crucial early years before the small block Chevy took over the role in the late 50s. It looked like Grandma's sedan from 100 feet away. From 30 feet away, with the throttle open, it was something else entirely. Many of the legendary drivers of early NASCAR, Junior Johnson among them, whose story we will cover in a later episode, learned their craft-running moonshine in cars that included the Oldsmobile 88 on the long list of preferred weapons. And then, in 1951, the car got a song. In March of 1951, a young Mississippi bandleader named Ike Turner, yes, that Ike Turner, drove his band to Memphis, Tennessee to record a few sides at a small studio operated by a producer named Sam Phillips. Phillips would, in another few years, discover and record an unknown truck driver from Tupelo named Elvis Presley. But that history was still ahead of him in the spring of 1951. That day, the band recorded a song titled Rocket 88, credited to vocalist Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats, although the band on the recording was essentially Ike Turner's own. The lyrics were a celebration of the car itself, of cruising in it, of the speed and the style and the freedom it represented. The arrangement was driven by a heavily distorted electric guitar, the result, according to legend, of a damaged amplifier that had been dropped on the way to the session and patched with paper before being plugged in anyway. The producer, Sam Phillips, decided he liked the resulting fuzzy, aggressive sound. He kept it. Rocket 88 was released as a single in April 1951. It became a #1 R&B hit, and it has been credited by many, though not all, music historians as the first rock and roll record ever made. The argument is not settled. It is a credit that several other recordings can claim with reasonable evidence. But the case for Rocket 88 is strong, and what is absolutely true is that the song stands at or near the beginning of rock and roll's birth, a brand new American art form announcing itself on a record sung about an American car. Sit with that for a moment. The first muscle car shape, sold in 1949. The dominant force in the first season of stock car racing in 1949. the chosen weapon of moonshine runners in the early 50s, the subject of arguably the first rock and roll. Song in 1951. The Oldsmobile 88 is sitting, quietly, at the origin point of 3 or 4 different things that would define the second half of the 20th century, and most people today have never even seen one. The reason for the historical erasure is partly that the Rocket 5.8 itself kept evolving and grew larger, 324 cubic inches, then larger still, through the 1950s without ever recapturing the singular cultural moment of the original 88. Other manufacturers caught up, then leapfrogged. Chrysler launched the original Firepower Hemi in 1951. Cadillac kept refining its overhead valve V8. Chevrolet finally launched its own small block in 1955 and changed the industry. By the mid-1950s, the Rocket V8 was an excellent engine in a crowded field of excellent engines. It was no longer the only one of its kind. The unique advantage that had defined 1949 through 1951 slowly dissolved. By the time Pontiac launched the 1964 GTO, the car the history books still call the first muscle car, Oldsmobile had moved on from its early hot rod identity into a quieter, more sedate product line. The Rocket V8 lived on, in modified form, for years, eventually surviving even into the 70s. But the cultural moment had passed. The muscle car was reinvented in 1964 by people who acted as if no one had thought of it before, and most of those people, in their defense, had never been told that someone had. So what is the final ledger on the Oldsmobile Rocket 88? A V8 engine that helped drag American automotive design out of the Flathead era and into the overhead valve future. A formula, big engine and a midsize body, that every American muscle car for the next 30 years would copy without crediting. 6 of 8 wins in the first official NASCAR season and 10 of 19 the following year. A dominance so complete, it shaped the sport in its founding moment. A car that helped moonshine outrun the government across the rural South, and a song sung about the car itself that may stand at the very birth of rock and roll. Almost none of this is what people know about Oldsmobile today. The brand was wound down by General Motors in 2004, ending more than a century of American car making. When most modern enthusiasts think of Oldsmobile, they think of comfortable, mildly forgettable family sedans of the 80s and 90s, the brand at its lowest cultural moment, not at its highest. But for a brief window in the late 1940s and early 50s, Oldsmobile was a different brand entirely. Young, loud, fast, the brand whose cars carried bootleggers and stock car heroes and inspired songs in studios that would soon record Elvis Presley. The brand that, almost by accident, invented the muscle car a decade and a half before anyone else thought to claim the title. And among collectors today, the original Rocket 88s are slowly receiving the recognition they earned in their own time. Properly restored 88s from the 1949 to 1951 period, the years of NASCAR domination, the years of the song, the years of the legend, change hands for serious money at auction. Not in the same stratosphere as a Hemi Cuda, perhaps, but on a clear upward trajectory as the historical record catches up to what the car actually did. One V8 engine, one inspired decision about which body shell to drop it into, 6 wins in 8 races, a song, and a forgotten claim to inventing one of the most American things ever built. But while Oldsmobile was quietly inventing the muscle car and then forgetting it, another GM division would, in 1969, try something very different. Chevrolet would build a Camaro with an all-aluminum racing engine, so radical, so expensive, and so quietly sold that only 69 customers in the entire country ever managed to order one. Chevrolet never advertised it. It existed because one dealer found a loophole in the factory ordering system. That story is next.